Then all of a sudden, when people couldn't get the meat off the shelf stores, but they could get live meat from the farmers, the need for these local butchers just went through the roof. It was really high, and they didn't have the capacity to react to it and meet it. Today in our video, we're answering a question for one of our subscribers, Keith, who asked about how the government encourages or legislates so that the big companies like Smithfield Foods and stuff get bigger, or the Tysons and the ConAgras get bigger, and the little guys get pushed out of the scene. He also asked, additionally, how come it took so long during COVID for us to get a slaughter date at these small butchers? Sometimes it was a year to 18 months wait because they were just running at full capacity. Speaking of Keith being a subscriber, if you're our friend and like what we're doing, if you would subscribe to our channel or press like, it helps us to reach more people and market our product better. So if you do that for us, it'd be great. But in answer to Keith's question, there's a really long answer, and I'll try to summarize it. Over the history of meat production in the United States, regulation has been needed because there's a lot of cheaters out there, and the consumer ultimately needed a system where they could have faith in the product at the end. And that's how we developed the USDA system of inspection, so that we know that all meat processors are held to the same standard. And then the consumer has complete confidence in the product, both for where it fits in the quality grade and for health and bacterial and any contaminants. Also, through the history of mankind and the meat industry in the United States, people were adding other things like water, injecting water into meat products to try to add weight to their product. And so that all had to become regulated. And if you look from like 1906 and 1914 on through the generations, that's where all of our regulation came from. It wasn't just from government trying to be big. And naturally, as that happened, if you look at the highs and the lows of the meat industry, if you look at the depression times and other times, boom and bust, what meat prices were in the 1980s, all of those economic changes coupled with the regulation that was needed so that the consumer could be feel safe kind of created the market into what it is today. And so even regionally, where there was good meat packers, bigger meat packers would come in and buy them out. And so you get these great big national chains, which was maybe the government not reacting fast enough to the monopolies that were happening, but they were developed kind of through natural economic channels. And so now you have two systems. You have the USDA inspected plants, which are generally large, but they're being rolled and stamped and marked so that the consumer knows exactly what they're getting. And then that meat can be marketed anywhere, through grocery stores, restaurants, whatever. And if somebody puts a USDA choice on their menu, then that's what the consumer knows what they're getting, because it's been stamped, graded, and marked that way. However, with the smaller plants, the local custom butcher plants, the relationship is different. The law allows then for the customer to make a deal with these small butchers to have them process their meat directly, but then that meat can't be resold, right? It's for that customer only. And that has to do with the relationship or knowing exactly everything that happened to the meat. You hired that butcher, you trust them, you're going to make them accountable. You as the customer are the inspector. If the person either selling you the live animal or the person doing the butchering is not up to your standards, you fire them and you move on to somebody else that provides that product. And so that's why we have the two systems. And the USDA system, you can get very removed from the product. It can be shipped from New York, it can be shipped from LA, it can be shipped from anywhere, because the standards are regulated. It's been inspected by a third-party system. The customer should be safe. And then you have the local system where the customer should know the butcher and hire that butcher based on his qualifications, you being in his shop. Now they have regulations too. The state regulates them and make sure that they're clean and tidy and all of those things. But if they're good, customers come to them. If they're not good, they go out of business. So in the end of Keith's question, he says, how do we support these local butchers so that we don't have 18-month wait again? I would say to consistently support them. What happened to them is they went from low staffing, a certain amount of quantity, a certain amount of business that they were doing. Then all of a sudden, when people couldn't get the meat off the shelf stores, but they could get live meat from the farmers, the need for these local butchers just went through the roof. It was really high, and they didn't have the capacity to react to it and meet it. Well, now over the last year, as they've worked their way through these long logs of kill dates that they had booked, they have a lot more capacity. They can kill a lot more animals. They can do a lot more to keep it in a timely and a consistent way. But is the customer going to stick with them, or are they all just going to go back to the grocery store? And so that's my short answer, is that be consistent, stick with them, keep doing it, so that they can maintain the employees and the capacity they have at this level. If we don't, they'll shrink back again, and then the next crisis comes, they'll have to react and grow again. But it's more economics than government, in my opinion.